Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. When a person is down, food is very effective to cheer a person up. For me, it is perfectly cooked shrimp. For my wife, it's salmon. When my wife is upset with me by what I have done, I can make up to her by cooking her salmon. There are many ways to cook salmon, each have their strength and weakness. To me, the perfectly cooked salmon is that it is slightly charred on the outside but moist inside. We were once on a trip and we found a restaurant that cooked the perfect salmon. We had a chance to talk to the chef and he told us the perfect salmon is by pan frying. He told us that he fried his salmon in high heat on a frying pan. The heat will char the outside to seal in the moisture inside the salmon. My wife really liked how the salmon is cooked this way. So after I came back, I worked on it to figure out how to make it the same way. I find that instead of doing it in a frying pan, I can do it effectively in a wok. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the wok as a frying pan. Not only I can cook a perfect salmon, I can also cook excellent shrimp. The process is very different from stir fry, but it provides a very useful template. This template not only applies to salmon and shrimp, but it also can apply to steak, chicken, and pork. First of all, let me first define what is pan frying. Pan frying is basically the process you put a food ingredient on the surface of the frying pan without moving it. In contrast with stir frying, you constantly move the food ingredients. In pan frying, it is more likely that you will burn the surface of the food ingredients because you leave it without moving it. And the differences in stir frying is that by constantly moving the food item, you prevent it from getting burned. So in the case of salmon that you would like the surface to be burned, then pan frying is a much effective process. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate pan frying of both salmon and shrimp. The salmon I'm going to use is Atlantic salmon that has never been frozen before. Instead of cooking the entire piece of salmon, it works much better if I cut them into smaller pieces. I'm going to use 6 pieces of salmon and they have cut to about 1.5 inches square. Altogether, I'm going to use about 6 ounces of salmon. Like most salmon, this salmon comes with skin. For the shrimp, I'm going to use a frozen large shrimp. I thaw them out in running water and then I dry them as much as possible. For this demonstration, I'm going to use my Cuisinart 14-inch stainless steel wok. This wok has an aluminum encapsulated bottom, so it's supposed to have excellent heat conduction. I first heat up the wok for a couple minutes. I then add 2 tablespoons of canola oil. I let the oil to heat up and smoke for about 15 seconds. This is my spot seasoning method. If you are not familiar with this method, you can take a look at this video. I'm going to start cooking the salmon first because it takes longer time to cook. The goal of my cooking approach is to cook the skin of the salmon first. The skin of the salmon has a fatty layer, so it could be charred easily. It will get slightly burned and turn crisp, and actually that has excellent flavor. The skin is not burned, it has a rather fishy taste. In this case, most people will remove the skin rather than eating it. However, when it is charred, it is delicious. So the goal of this cooking method is to pan fry the salmon, particularly the skin portion, by leaving it on the surface of the wok for an extended period of time. At this point, I start to add the shrimp to the wok one by one. I lay the shrimp along the peripheral of the salmon. You can see the salmon start cooking from bottom up. After I let the shrimp to cook for about 30 seconds, I turn them around. You can see that the one side of the shrimp has already been cooked. In fact, it almost looks like it has been grilled. The heat of the oil definitely is very effective in cooking the shrimp. Along the way, I make some adjustment to the heat because I do not want it to get too hot and have the oil smoke too much. I turn the shrimp around one more time and I notice that the shrimp is almost done. At this point, I remove the shrimp and set them aside. Now I look at the salmon. It almost cooked halfway up. I turn the salmon around and take a look at the bottom of the salmon. It looks like the skin are now getting very well charred. I don't want the skin to burn too much, so I turn the salmon around and now start to cooking the salmon from the other end. As you can see, the oil is very hot. It actually starts to brown the salmon almost immediately. I turn the salmon around several times to make sure all the sides are properly cooked and brown as well. I know the thickness of the salmon will prevent the inside of the salmon getting dry, and also the heat will seal in the moisture. Now the salmon is done. The total cook time is 9 minutes. From here, I clearly recognize the distinction between pan frying and stir frying. Pan frying takes longer, but it will cause the surface of the food ingredients to become charred. Whereas stir frying, by constantly stirring the contents, it cooks faster, but it will not cause the surface to get burned. So clearly both has their advantages, depending on what is the intention. When we taste this salmon, it is truly amazing because the skin is burned, give a very nice flavor. It is not fishy at all, and it has a wonderful texture. Because the salmon is thick, so the cooking do not penetrate deep into the flesh of the salmon, making inside of the salmon fresh and moist. The burn outside, in contrast with the soft interior, makes it a very delicious taste and texture. Most of the time, we really do not want to eat an entire piece of salmon. After I buy a whole piece of salmon and bring it home, I will distribute them into 6 ounces package. I will cut them up in advance, so make them easier to be thawed when I'm ready to use them. Because it is a little bit thicker, it takes a little bit longer to thaw as compared to, say, chicken or beef. However, it is usually thawed in about 15 minutes. We used to eat salmon only once in a great while. But now with this approach, we can eat salmon once or even twice a week. We use it as a condiment rather than as a main dish. We find it very pleasurable to have salmon mixing it with vegetables. Again, eating is all about diversity and variations. I used to use the wok mainly for stir fry, but now I'm using it as a frying pan as well. I will use this template for both steak and chicken. It has given us a lot of flexibility and possibility in doing different type of cooking approach. So how about making a grilled cheese sandwich? Recently I used my 14-inch ham hammer wok just to do that. Thank you for watching. If you find this video helpful, please click the like icon below. That will help me to reach a broader audience. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like to receive notification of my future video postings. See you next time.